What would you do if you were fired from the company you founded yourself? What if the whole world witnessed your resounding fall? Do you give up? Or do you come back to build an empire that turns your enemies into your employees? Welcome to Echo of Stories. Our story today isn't about success, but about the art of coming back from failure. Everything in Steve Jobs' life was different, even his beginning. He wasn't born into a wealthy family. He was born to be adopted. But he saw something special in this adoption. He always felt he was chosen. This feeling of being different would shape every decision he would make in his life. In school, he was a genius and bored. He hated the rules, hated the routine. His mind was too fast for any curriculum to handle. And when it was time for college, he did what many wouldn't dare. After just 6 months, he dropped everything. Why? Because he felt it was a waste of his parents' lifelong savings. He didn't see the value. And here comes the first practical lesson. After he left college, he was free. Instead of attending the required lectures, he started attending only the classes that sparked his curiosity. The most important of these was a calligraphy class. He learned about the beauty of the spacing between letters and about different typefaces. At the time, it seemed completely useless hobby. Who cares about calligraphy in the emerging world of computers? But he didn't know that this very lesson, this seemingly impractical knowledge, would be the secret weapon that would make Macintosh computers, 10 years later, the first computers with beautiful and elegant fonts. The lesson? There is no useless knowledge. Follow your curiosity, learn things that don't seem practical, as life will find a way to connect these dots in the future. But curiosity alone doesn't build a company. Steve needed a partner, another genius to complement his madness. And in his parents' humble garage, with the smell of oil and cut grass, a revolution was about to begin. In that garage, there wasn't a team of engineers, but just two minds. Steve Jobs, the visionary genius, and his friend, Steve Wozniak, the technical wizard who could turn any crazy idea into a reality. The formula was perfect. Wozniak built the impossible, and Jobs knew how to sell it to the world. They founded Apple. To get the capital, Jobs sold his car, and Wozniak sold his prized calculator. They had nothing to lose and everything to gain. The result? The Apple II. It wasn't just a machine. It was the first user-friendly personal computer to enter homes and schools. They ignited a revolution. In just 3 years, Apple transformed from two guys in a garage into a company worth over $1 billion. Steve Jobs, the college dropout, became the face of technology in the world, an icon of American success. But the same fire that warms you is the one that can burn you. Steve's passion, which had built the company, began to turn into an obsession. He was obsessed with details, yelling at engineers and demanding the impossible. He saw perfection and would accept nothing less. And as the company grew, so did the problems. It could no longer be managed by just one person. Then, Steve made the biggest mistake of his life. He convinced John Sculley, the CEO of Pepsi, to join Apple. He told him his famous line, "Do you want to sell sugar water for the rest of your life, or do you want to come with me and change the world?" Sculley came, but two different visions in one company is a recipe for disaster. Jobs wanted to create art, and Sculley wanted to make money. The conflict escalated until it reached a breaking point. In 1985, the board of directors, led by John Sculley, the man Jobs himself had brought in, called for a vote. The decision was unanimous: to strip Steve Jobs of all his responsibilities. He was fired. Effectively, the founder was kicked out of his own kingdom. He was only 30 years old. The lesson here is harsh and direct. Passion that cannot be controlled can become your downfall. Steve's obsession with perfection is what built Apple, but his inability to deal with people and understand corporate politics is what destroyed everything from within. He lost his company, his reputation, his legacy. The whole world watched the genius fall, and everyone wondered, is this the end? Will Steve Jobs disappear forever? Or was this tragic end, in reality, a new beginning in disguise? The silence after the fall is the hardest thing a person can face. But Steve Jobs would later say in his most famous speech, "Getting fired from Apple was the best thing that could have ever happened to me." How could that be true? Because, as he said, the heaviness of being successful was replaced by the lightness of being a beginner again. He was free. He was no longer a global icon, but just a man with ideas. And with this freedom, he did two things that changed the course of his life and the course of technology once again. First, he founded a new computer company called NeXT. His vision was to build the perfect computer for universities and scientists. The company wasn't a huge commercial success, but it was the laboratory where Steve developed his management skills and learned how to lead a team in a more mature way. Second, he did something no one expected. He bought a small, obscure animation company for $10 million. Its name was Pixar. Yes, Pixar. He bet on the idea that computers could make movies. Everyone thought he was crazy. But after years of burning through money, Pixar produced the first fully computer-animated feature film in history, Toy Story. This film not only changed the world of cinema, but it also taught Steve a deeper lesson about the magic of merging art with technology. The lesson here is simple and profound. Your greatest moments of growth come right after your greatest moments of failure. Defeat is not the end. It's a forced opportunity to reevaluate everything, learn anew, and come back stronger. But wait, how? How does someone do it? How do you turn public humiliation and being fired from your dream job into fuel to found two legendary companies? What was going through his mind during those years? What were the moments of doubt he never told anyone about? The secrets of this mindset, this psychological transformation, are too deep to be told in a short story. For those who don't just want to know the story, but want to own the roadmap to the mind of this genius, there is only one source that holds all the answers: the official biography, Steve Jobs, by Walter Isaacson. This isn't just a book. It's the result of more than 40 interviews with Steve Jobs himself, and hundreds of interviews with his family, friends, and even his fiercest rivals. Steve himself requested it be written, but on one condition: that he would have no control over the content. He wanted the complete truth. And this book is the practical solution for anyone who wants to understand how great people think. Do you love the feel of paper? You can order the paperback version to add to your library. Do you want to start reading right now? The Kindle ebook version arrives on your phone or tablet in seconds. Is your time limited and you prefer to listen? The full Audible audiobook will be your companion in the car or at the gym. I have placed a single link for you in the video description that will take you to all three of these versions. Choose what suits. Investing in this book is a direct investment in developing your mindset. And now, back to the story. Steve was now a different man, wiser and more mature. Meanwhile, the company that fired him, Apple, was dying. It was just 90 days away from declaring bankruptcy. The stage was now set for the greatest comeback in corporate history. In 1997, Apple did the only thing that could save it. It bought the company NeXT, and in doing so, brought its ousted founder, Steve Jobs, back home. At first, he was just an advisor. But everyone knew who the real leader was. In a fateful meeting, he stood before the exhausted employees and said his famous words: "This company is in trouble. The products are bad." In his first few weeks, he canceled 70% of Apple's products. Dozens of projects were shut down. His decision was shocking, but it was genius. He forced the company to focus. The management lesson here? Real strategy is not about deciding what to do, but about deciding what not to do. Then he launched his legendary advertising campaign, Think Different. The campaign didn't feature any products. Instead, it showed images of the geniuses and rebels of history: Einstein, Gandhi, Picasso. It was a message to the world that Apple was back, and that it wasn't just a computer company, but a company for the people who want to change the world. And the invasion began. In 1998, he launched the iMac, the computer that made the internet beautiful and easy. In 2001, he launched the iPod, the device that put 1,000 songs in your pocket and changed the music industry forever. In 2007, he stood on stage and said, "Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone." And he launched the iPhone, the device that didn't just change the phone industry, but changed the way we live as human beings. Then came the iPad, which created an entirely new category of devices. He had done it. The man who was fired for being difficult and crazy used that same craziness to save his company and make it the most valuable company on earth. So, what's the conclusion? What is the echo of Steve Jobs' story that should stay with us? First, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward. That calligraphy class that seemed useless became the foundation of Apple's success. Trust that everything you're going through today, even if it's difficult or doesn't make sense, is a dot that will connect to your success in the future. Second, you've got to find what you love. Passion is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And finally, the lesson that summarized his life: stay hungry, stay foolish. Stay hungry for knowledge and success, never be satisfied. And stay foolish enough to believe you can change the world and to try things everyone else sees as impossible. This was the story of the rebel, the genius, the legend, Steve Jobs. Thank you for joining us on Echo of Stories. If this story sparked something in you, show your support by hitting the like button. And to be the first to hear our next story, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Most importantly, leave us a comment and tell us who is the great mind you want us to tell the story of next. And don't forget, the link to the complete biography of Steve Jobs in all its versions is in the video description. Until we meet in another story, stay curious.